All right, we are going over that worksheet. What was it? Well, it says 2-4 at the top. Remember, this is from the Algebra 2 book, but it's the same stuff that we're doing in here. So it's section 2-4 technically on that worksheet, but really it's I think it's 3-4. In our book it's chapter 3, and I think it's section 4. But in this worksheet is 2-4, and it's page 25. Okay, enough of that. Number 2. It says it's perpendicular. I'll just put the perpendicular symbol instead of writing the word perpendicular to this equation. It's perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x minus 1. And it has an x-intercept of positive 4. So here's the information that they give you. And you need to write an equation of a line. As soon as you see that phrase, the equation of a line, what are you thinking? Cleo, what are you thinking when it says, write the equation of a line? What's the first thing that pops in your head when it says y equals mx plus b? And it tells you to put it in slope-intercept as well, doesn't it? Slope-intercept form. That's slope-intercept form of an equation of a line. That's what you need to think of. Okay, this is our guide. This is what we're looking to plug stuff into. Everybody see that? Everybody knows y equals mx plus b. Am I right on that? All right, everybody should know that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this information and see what we can plug into this little formula right here. So let's see what we know so far. You need to find a slope and you need to find a y-intercept, correct? By this information right here, what can we say about the slope that we're going to put into this? What do you think? Luke, tell me. Where are you looking here? You're looking here for a slope, aren't you? Where do you see a slope here? The 1/2. Okay, so this slope right here is 1/2. But is that our slope that we're going to put in for this? Luke, tell me what the slope's going to be. That's right. Make it the negative reciprocal. Exactly right. So what do? Negative means we change the sign of it. So it is a positive right here, so we make it negative. And then we flip it. That's the reciprocal, right? Negative reciprocal. How many times have we said that phrase? Many, many dozens of times, okay? The negative reciprocal. So we change the sign and we flip it. So what's our new slope? It's negative. It's not x. The x isn't part of the slope. It's just a number, okay? It's just -2. See what I circled right there? I didn't circle the x. I only circled the 1/2. So if it says perpendicular, we take that slope and we do the negative reciprocal of that slope. So the slope was 1/2 on this line, but our slope is the negative reciprocal, so it's -2. What if it said parallel and not perpendicular? What would our slope be? It would be 1/2. Do you see the difference? If it says parallel, the slope is the same. If it says perpendicular, that's when we do the negative reciprocal. Everybody clear on that part? Stop me if you don't know what I'm saying here. So that's what we're doing. Now we have to find the y-intercept as well, don't we? But did they tell you the y-intercept here? No, they tell you the x-intercept. Do we just put that in for this? No. We have to understand what the x-intercept means. You don't have to graph this, but this is just to get you thinking. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, and it crosses the x-axis at where? +4. What's the actual ordered pair at that point, though? It's 4, 0. That's right. So that's my point, 4, 0. So by them telling me the x-intercept, I wrote 4, 0 because that's the point. You see it? So if it says x-intercept, it's 4, 0. If they told you the y-intercept, that would make it really easy, wouldn't it? Because then you just take that y-intercept, you stick it in for b. But they don't. They tell you the x-intercept. So what we have to do is take these three things, plug them into this formula right here. Well, you know it's going to go in for the m. -2 is going to go in for the m. Where does this go? Where does this 4 and this 0 go? Right, that goes in for your x and y. See, that ordered pair is x and y. So that 4 goes where? In for the x. That 0 goes where? In for the y. So it's just plug and chug. We just take those three things, plug them into our formula, and then see what's left over. And that's going to be our b. So let's do that. I'll do this in yellow. So let's plug stuff in. What do I put? Y equals mx plus b. What am I putting in for y? 0. I tell you what, I'm going to rewrite y equals mx plus b so you see where everything goes. All right, make it easy for you. So y is 0 equals m. What's our m? It's -2. What is that -2 doing to the x? It's being multiplied. What is my x? So 4. and then plus what? Do I know the y-intercept? No, so I just keep it b. That's a really important part. You do that many, many times on these problems. Okay, you're going to do that a lot on this stuff. So, and we're going to do it a couple more times in here so you can see it again. But we do this a lot. And now we just have to do some math and you have to solve for b. So you have to know your algebra. All right, it's good enough to know this. I mean, that's great that you can plug stuff in, but you got to know how to solve for b as well. So let's do this. 0 equals negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 plus b. Get b by itself. I add an 8 to both sides, and b is equal to 8. I'm almost done, aren't I? I've got my slope, and I've got my y-intercept. Now I just have to put those together, don't I, into the slope-intercept form. So I don't just write negative 2. I don't just write 8. I don't just write negative 2 times 8. What do I write? Y equals m. What's my m? Negative 2, and then I just write x. Remember, my final answer is going to have a y here, and it's going to have an x here, isn't it? It's not just going to be a whole bunch of numbers just plugged in. You're going to see a y, you're going to see an x. So y equals negative 2x, what? Plus 8, because that's the b. That goes right there. This right there is what they're looking for the answer. If you look at that, that's really not all that hard. I really don't think it is. It's just plugging numbers in, okay? It's plugging and chugging, as I say, right? Plug and chug. What do you plug in, though? That's the key. You got to know what you're plugging in. So you had to find that slope as negative 2, and that's because it was perpendicular. So you plug a negative 2 in here. And then you had to know that this point right here was 4, 0, didn't you? But once you know that, then it's easy. You put the 4 in for the x, you put the 0 in for the y, you do the math, and you solve for b. Let's do another one that's kind of like that. Let's do one that's parallel this time. Let's do number 4. Tell you what, let me maybe change that a little bit. Let's just do 4. Might as well. Yeah, we'll do 4, then we'll do 3. Let's do 4 first, because 4 is very, very close to what we just finished doing. And then we'll do number 3. 3's kind of the same thing, but anyway, let's look at it. It says it's parallel, so I'm going to put the symbol for parallel. Everybody looking at number 4, are you seeing how it reads? It says it's parallel to this line right here. Y equals negative 1/4 x minus 2. And the x-intercept, again, they tell you the x-intercept. They're not always going to tell you the x-intercept, but on these two problems they did. And it's at 4. It's at the same spot as what the other one was, all right? This is really, really close to what we just finished doing. Everybody with me so far? Tell you what, I'll give you like 1 minute, and I want you to work that out. Even if you got it right before, go through the steps that I just got finished doing, okay? Ready? Go. You got 1 minute. Okay, time's up. Let's do this problem. First of all, let's write y equals mx plus b. That's the first thing I'm going to write because it says put it in the slope-intercept form. So that's the first thing I write. And then I look to see what I need. I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. Well, I got a slope, don't I? Do I do the negative reciprocal of this? Why not? Because it's the same. Because why? What tells you that? Because it's parallel. Lines that are parallel have the same slope. So my slope is exactly the same. I don't flip it. I don't change the sign. It's exactly the same. What else do I know? I know this information right here. But what does that tell me? It tells you the ordered pair, doesn't it? So what is that ordered pair? 4, 0. We just did this. Same exact x-intercept in the last problem, right? So now we take this stuff and we plug it in for this. This is the x and this is the y. So let's plug stuff into y equals mx plus b. What is the y? 0 equals m is negative 1/4. It's being multiplied by x, which is 4. Now watch, it's a fraction, so how would I write that? 4 over 1. And then plus what? B. Now what do I do here? How do I multiply that stuff together? Say it. Yeah, you cross stuff out. Good. Okay, so what crosses out? 4's cancel, don't they? And what's negative 1 over 1? It's just negative 1. So 0 equals negative 1 plus b. That was easy, wasn't it? All right, and then add a 1 to both sides, and b equals 1. And I'm basically done, aren't I? Remember what we do? We take that slope, and then we take this y-intercept, and you just put them together into one nice equation of a line. So we write it, what? Y equals what? Negative 1/4, what? X, and then my b is positive 1, and there it is. That's the equation of the line. It's as easy as that. It's pretty simple, isn't it? All you got to do is do them a few times, and then you get the hang of it. Let's do number 3. Yeah, number 3 is a little bit tougher. It doesn't have the x-intercept this time. Okay, but it's kind of the same thing. You'll look at it, and you'll say, hey, it's pretty much the same thing as what we did before. All right, let's change a different color here. Let's go green. All right, let's do number 3. Again, it says parallel. It says parallel to this line, y equals 2/3 x plus 6. Now, it doesn't tell you the x-intercept. What it does tell you, though, is a point that the line goes through. And they say it goes through the point 6, 7. So I have a line that's parallel to this one, but it goes through this point right here, 6, 7. This line doesn't go through 6, 7. The line that we're trying to figure out goes through the point 6, 7. All right? I'll give you 1 minute. Ready to work on this? Go. All right, time's up. Let's give this one a shot. First of all, it says parallel. If it says parallel, what's true about the slope? It's the same. So I'm going to, well, actually, what's the first thing I'm going to write down? Y equals mx plus b. Let's do that first. Okay, and then we can write the stuff. Okay, I need the slope, I need the y-intercept, right? So I know what the slope is. I know the slope is 2/3 because it says parallel. What if, this problem doesn't, but what if it said perpendicular? What would the slope be? -3/2. Are you getting that? Okay, if it's perpendicular, it's the negative reciprocal. If it's parallel, it's the same slope. So since it says parallel, the slope is the same as this one right here. Okay? Now, we plug stuff in, don't we? I got to figure out what do I plug in, though. What about the 6 and 7? What happens to that?
X and Y.
That's the x and that's the y. So wherever you see an x, I plug in a 6. Wherever you see a y, I plug in a 7. Wherever you see the m, I plug in what? 2/3. And then I can solve for b. See, it's just plugging numbers into a formula. That's all it is, isn't it? But you got to know which numbers you're plugging in, though. That's the important part. That's the part that really takes some thinking. So let's plug stuff in. Our y. What is y? Give me a number. 7. Right. Equals m. What's my number for m? 2/3. What's that 2/3 doing? Multiplying by x. What's x? Now, since it's a fraction, I'm going to write this what? 6/1. Good. Plus, do we know the b? No. So I just put plus b. Now I have to do a little math. Again, the math is not that hard. They rig this thing. Did you see how they rig it for you? Because it does come out nice and pretty. It doesn't come out to a fraction or anything. Look what happens. The 3 and the 6 cancel. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 6 twice. So 7 equals what? 2 times 2, which is 4. And I don't need to put it over 1 now, though, do I? Since it's a whole number. So 7 equals 4 plus b. The math, subtract 4 from both sides. What's b? B is 3. We're not finished, though, are we? We got to put them together, right? We take that slope and we put it together with the y-intercept. So we take that, put them together into a nice equation of a line, and see what we get. Y equals m 2/3 x plus b, which is plus 3. And that's my answer right there. You got to admit, it's getting easier, isn't it? Okay, pretty simple. I think it is. It's just plug and chug. Would you agree? Just look to see what the slope is, put in the right slope. It all depends if it's perpendicular or parallel. Okay, and then you put in the x and the y, you do a little bit of math, solve for b, put it all together, and you're good to go. Let's try a different problem. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to do this whole problem, I'm just going to give you a little bit of hint for it. Look at number 12. It says, write the equation slope-intercept form again. It says, they actually tell you the slope. They say the slope is 3. And they tell you a point, right? 1, -3. Look, so they tell you the slope. You don't have to know if the slope is the same or the negative reciprocal. They tell you what the slope is. So what are you going to do with this? Just going to plug and chug, aren't you? I'll do this a little faster, okay? I'll do this. I said I wasn't going to, but I will. But we'll do it real quick. So it's y is -3 equals m, which is 3, times x, which is 1, plus, do I know the b? Nope. And now you just solve for b. -3 equals 3 plus b. Subtract 3 from both sides. b is, what's -3 minus 3? It's -6. Okay, if you can't do that arithmetic in your head, use a calculator so you get the right number. I hate saying that. I really do, because you need to be able to do this in your head. You should be able to. But if you can't, for goodness sakes, get the problem right and put it into a calculator. And look, I know my slope, I know my y-intercept, I put it all together, y equals 3x minus 6. It's as easy as that. Simple, simple stuff. What if I do this? What if instead of giving me the slope, they just gave me 2 points? This is a good one to do, so let's watch. Let's do number 16. This is number 16. Negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3, 1. Now look, they just give you 2 points, don't they? They don't give you the slope. But guess what we can do? We can find the slope. That's right. We know how to find the slope when they give you 2 points, don't we? So let's find the slope here. So it's a little bit of extra work, but that's okay. We know how to do this. So let's find the slope. Subtract the y's, right? And then subtract the x's. Put the y's on the top and the x's on the bottom. So let's do that. Subtract the y's. It's negative 2 minus 1. Subtract the x's. It's negative 1 minus what? Negative 3. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Watch what happens here. Minus a negative is plus. So negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So what's my slope? Let's write it nice and neat. It's negative 3 over 2. So that's my slope. Now I'm going to circle it, but that's not my answer though, is it? Okay, we're going to hang on to it. That's what we're going to use. I want to use this slope to put it into the slope-intercept form. So what is the slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. How many times I've written that today? Probably 4 or 5, haven't I? So let's put stuff in here. What do I put in for the m? Negative 3 over 2, exactly. What do I put in for the x and the y? I got 2 points here, don't I? I can pick either one of these. I could pick this one, or I could pick this one right here. It doesn't make any difference. I have 2 points to choose from. And all the problems we did earlier, they only gave you 1 point, so you had to use that point. On this one, you can use either one. Which one would you rather use? The second one? Because it's got a positive maybe? Okay, so let's do that. So this is the x, and that's the y. So let's plug that in for this. So the y is 1 equals m, we just found it, which is negative 3 over 2. Plus, times x, right? Times x, what's my x? It's negative 3. Now this one comes out a little bit tougher than the other ones. You're going to have to find a common denominator. But you've been doing that stuff since 4th and 5th grade. Alright, so you should be able to handle this. So let's do this. 1 equals, nothing cancels here, does it? 2 doesn't go into 3, so you can't cancel. But negative times negative is positive 9 over 2. Right? Now what do we have to do? Subtract 9 over 2. Subtract 9 over 2. That cancels. So b is, now watch this. Let's change that 1. Remember doing this in 5th, 6th grade? Find a common denominator. What is it? 2. It's 2 over 2, right. So what's 2 over 2 minus 9 over 2? Or 2 minus 9 is negative 7 over 2. You can't get lost on this. Some of you guys got your heads down again, and I won't feel sorry for you at all tomorrow on the quiz, because so don't go crying to me about I didn't know this, because your heads are down, I know who you are, and I'll give you no mercy whatsoever if you're not paying attention. All right? Still didn't help her, did it? Somebody tell her to wake up. All right, let's keep going. Look what we have. Now we have a y-intercept. What do we do with these? What do we do? Put them in slope-intercept form, right? Once you get this, and you're good to go. Y equals negative 3 halves x minus 7 over 2. That was the hardest one. That was the hardest one out of all of them. Out of every single one on that worksheet that I gave you, that was the toughest one. Now, I might ask you to do this as well. They don't have this on the worksheet, but I'm going to give you a couple where you have to graph an equation of a line. Let's do a nice easy one. Y equals 3x minus 2. What if I ask you to graph this? You don't really, I probably will give you a little graph thing on the quiz, but you don't really need it. Watch. Y equals 3x minus 2. What's the first thing we're going to plot here? The y-intercept, which is negative 2. So we put a dot. Let's do that in a different color. We put a dot at negative 2 right there. What's the slope? 3 over 1. So we count up 3. 1, 2, 3, and we run 1. So we put a dot right there. Could this be any easier? I don't think it could. It's pretty simple. You put a point at the y-intercept. You find the slope. It's 3 over 1, so we rise 3, and we run 1. So we go up 3 to the right 1, and then what do we do to these 2 points? We just connect them, and you got a nice line that goes through just like that. And that's what we're looking for. Can you handle something like that? You should be able to. Now look, I might have a fraction. The slope might be a fraction, but does that make it any tougher? No. Watch. What if I had 3 over 2x minus 2? Then what would we do? Still, the y-intercept is the same. You rise 3, 1, 2, 3, but then you just run what? 2. See that? And so your line looks a little different, doesn't it? That's the only thing different. Pretty simple. All right, that kind of stuff is going to be on the quiz. No, I'm going to let you hang on to that, but I'm going to collect it tomorrow. Why am I letting you hang on to it? To study from. That's right. I'm going to take it first thing tomorrow. Don't leave it in your locker. Don't forget it at home. It will be late if you don't bring it in tomorrow. So study this stuff for tomorrow.